Hello and welcome back to Up the Villa podcast. If you are new, subscribe, drop this video a like, get involved in the comment section down below. Let's have a like target of 450 likes on this, so smash the like button. You'll help push this video further out onto YouTube for us as well. So, the debrief, let's have a little deeper look at what happened on Saturday for Aston Villa 2, Leicester City 4. I feel like the more I think about the game, the more positives I tend to find from it. And I know that's probably sounds mad that we lost 4-2. But, if I do have a look at more of the stats and what happened, then I do feel a little bit better about the performance. But there were a lot of things that did go wrong, and I'm about to show you what went wrong and how it went wrong. So there are bigger positives. I mean, it just felt like this weekend's football, it was, CDM central mistakes, dwelling on the ball. We saw Man City do it, playing out. They got caught, conceded for Kane's goal. So it can happen to the best side. So we just got to move on, look ahead to Sunday against Manchester City. But let's have a little bit of a deeper look then at sort of the stats and what happened with the style of play and some of the images from the game as well. So the momentum bar for the game was pretty good in Villa's favour, to be fair. We had long spells of possession, especially in the second half. Obviously, we were trying to force it and get back into the game, but the momentum bar shows early on Villa were on top. Leicester had a spell, even first half. You could look at the spells there, and second half it was more or less dominant from Aston Villa, albeit that we got caught in the second half. Possession wise, again, Emery wants us to be a possession based side, and we kept the ball well, 63% possession. Obviously, you don't win a game of football based on possession, but he wants us to be a possession-based side, and we are keeping the ball. We had 19 shots. Leicester had 9. We had 4 on target. They had 5, and they scored 4 of their 5 attempts on target. So, it shows that we were wasteful at times, but Leicester were brutally clinical, and I think that's another thing that I come away from the game thinking it's not every day that a team has 5 shots on target and scores 4 goals. So, I think they were clinical. They were ruthless. I think that's what I can take away from the game as well. We had 11 corners. They had 3. They had 5 big chances. We had 1. If we have a look at some more. So passes again. We had so many passes. We had 564 passes, 87% passing accuracy, which is good. We lost the ball 141 times, which we will get into later on into the episode. They made 23 tackles, 9 interceptions, 29 clearances. They won more duels than us. And that's what I was saying in the match reaction and the fan cam. It felt like we lacked the aggression of what we've seen from an Unai Emery side. And I think when I say that, it's like their key characteristics from an Emery side: win your individual battles, be aggressive, play on the front foot, and just get in the faces of the opposition. We saw it perfectly away at Southampton. We were absolutely brilliant at getting in their faces, not letting them have any time on the ball. But I would say, watching the two sides, Leicester and Villa, the way Leicester approached it, that was a bit more of an Emery approach, because they were on the front foot. They were pressing well. They were hunting in packs. We didn't do that on Saturday. So that's one thing that you can see from me, is that, we lost the ball more times than they did, but that was because they were pressing and making us lose the ball. They won more duels. So I think that is a characteristic that I would take out from the game, that we just weren't on the front foot enough, in a sense of out of possession, and we were dwelling on the ball too much. So this is the average positions. Again, not too bad. You can see the line here is pretty high for your two centre backs. That's, it shows that we are playing with a high line. Both fullbacks really high as well, which is leaving space in this area. We did have a focal point of Ollie Watkins up top, Bailey drifting out wide, playing central. So it weren't a bad average position from the game, I don't think, but you can see that we were a little bit higher, which you could sense that we were more offensive. And then when we were getting caught on the ball, we were getting turned over. That is where you were starting to see gaps and pockets of space where Leicester were like driving at us, and we looked on the ropes. So again, plenty of shots, which we like to see, but a lot of them felt like half chances. They felt like snatch chances rather than gilt edge opportunities. We attack predominantly down the right, which is different to what we normally do, because we normally go through the left and then centrally, and on the left-hand side we were pretty even as well. They attacked predominantly down the right-hand side as well. So let's get into this. So this is prime Villa starting with a goal kick. So whatever we do from this scenario is not necessarily forced, because it's not like the ball is sort of already in play on the left and we're knocking it across the back to the right, to the left. We're trying to go forward and we're losing the ball. This is coming from a standing goal kick, which is where my biggest problem and my biggest criticism lies, because he doesn't have to play the ball there necessarily. He could have played it somewhere else. So you can clearly see that Leicester are pressing, and they know what we're about to do. So they've got 5 players that are basically covering Ashley Young, covering Konsa, covering Kamara, covering Mings, and then covering Luca Dean here. So they're ready to engage. As soon as this ball's in play, they're engaging. What I would say is that there's 2 faults I kind of think here, because if you look at where this ball's going to with Kamara, right? So it's going to Kamara. Martinez can see that there's 3 players around him. So already you're putting into an area where as soon as Kamara gets the ball, he's got to lay it off here. He's got to hit a first-time ball through there or knock it back to Martinez. Those are the 3 options, I think. When Kamara gets the ball, that's what he can do. But what he does decide to do is he decides to take a touch. And I think by taking that touch, he's already got players around him. So he then decides to turn it and decides to, play confidently, because he's in form. He is really confident, and we have seen him twisting and turning, albeit not so close to the 18-yard box. And he just gets caught. I think he's already made that decision to keep the ball. He's already made it that he's not going to pass. So in his mind now, he's going to either try and drive forward through here, which is what I think he tries to do. He tries to drive through there. And he does just get caught. He could easily try and play this ball to Mings over here, but I just think in his head, he's so focused on now sort of not making up for a mistake, because he hasn't made the mistake yet, but that's where I think his mindset is. And, we just concede. And I think my biggest problem is that came from just a dead ball goal kick. We've created our own problem. And, having just scored as well, we should be a little bit more switched on. And I think Emery does want to play out from the back, which is fine in my opinion. But sometimes we have to go long. If we don't want to, but sometimes that player just needs to take that responsibility and just hit it long. Because at times in this situation, you're going to have to. He could easily just boot it out of play here as well, but he doesn't. He chooses to dwell on the ball. And, we concede from this position, which is really annoying. So, we concede. I want to highlight this one as well, the Iheanacho header. Watching it live, I actually felt like it was Konsa or Mings' fault that he was in between the two, but watching it back, it wasn't. So if we look at this one here as well, you can see that the ball is on the right-hand side. And if we have a look at where Luca Dean's positioned here, he's trying to get back into this area. So Luca Dean we saw from the image that I showed you earlier that the fullbacks were quite high. So Luca Dean is already trying to make up ground to get into this position. You've got Konsa that's got a man here. No, you've got, who's that there? Is that, I don't know who that, I can't tell who that is. Maybe it's Bailey. But you've got a man, and he's trying to get back as well. So we look all right here. But then if we move the slide on a little bit, if we move it on, you can see that the first ball has come in, and already Luca Dean is trying to get on the back in front of his marker here, and he just can't. So we were fortunate that Mings was able to clear this shot, albeit he hits it straight back to where it's come from. And then this is what I want to show you. So the ball now is with Harvey Barnes. The ball's out wide with Harvey Barnes. If I zoom in now and show you, look at Luca Dean and look at Buendia. So Luca Dean is happy to have this man here. Buendia is looking to try and get and pick up this one here. Both of them have no idea that Iheanacho's there. Mings is having a look, but Mings is probably thinking Luca Dean or Buendia are going to deal with this, but they don't. So these two have no idea he's standing there. And then what happens is just free in space, just, he's played himself, kept his line really well, and he's grabbed his goal. But the biggest problem for me is that these two have no idea whatsoever that Iheanacho is on his own there. So that was a big mistake, and probably a reason why he got dragged at half time, Luca Dean. So I think that one's not a great goal to concede. This one, dwelling on the ball, but as you can see, 1, 2, 3, 4 players around the player that lost the ball for Aston Villa. They're hunting in packs. They're trying to win the ball aggressively, and we just too slow on the ball. We're trying to take one too many touches, and again we've lost the ball. And look where Luca Dean is as well, so far forward. Tete, I think he's run really well, and that's the one that was just before half time. Another one playing out from the back. It was a lazy ball from Konsa, played it to a Leicester player who played a free ball, and Iheanacho missed his chance. And then for the last one, you've got really high line. There's an overload on this side here. Moreno misses his kick, and Dennis Pratt scores that goal, and it's 4-2. So some really bad decision making from Villa defensively, and I think all goals are definitely avoided. But if we are going to play with this high line and we've got runners like this running at will, you have to clear this ball here. So we just need to be aware that when we're at home, when we're chasing the game, we're so open to an overload as well, which is just, they were just cutting through us at will, and that was the biggest problem for me. It was just far too easy for Leicester to just carve through us. So we have a look at some of the players' stats then from this game as well. Some of the things I want to highlight, which are unusual from some of our players. If you have a look at Boubacar Kamara's ground duels, he only won 6 of his 12 ground duels, where you're normally seeing him winning the majority of his ground duels. So it always felt like he was a yard off it, Kamara, in this game. It felt like we were chasing shadows at time, and I think the fact that we were always trying to a last-ditch tackle, or we were dwelling on the ball, it just didn't feel right. He had 83% passing accuracy. His dribble attempts, he got 3 out of 3. Lost the ball 11 times. So for me, Kamara, only winning half of his duels was a bit of an issue. If we have a look at Tyrone Mings, he won none of his ground duels. He won 1 of his 3 aerial duels. He lost the ball 9 times and a passing accuracy of 89%, which I think that's, for a ball playing centre back, I think you want that to be 93, 94, I think, in that area, I think. If we have a look at Ezri Konsa, passing accuracy, 95%. Ground duels, he won 6 of his 6 duels. Again, his passing accuracy is really good, but he was loose with that one that he passed straight to the Leicester player. If we have a look at Martinez's passing accuracy, 83% from the keeper as well. A little bit loose for me at times. I think he's done well recently with his distribution, but I felt in this game it was a little bit off. Leon Bailey. Now, I actually think Leon Bailey did start the game really well. The first 2 crosses that he put into the box were really, really dangerous. So I think he did start the game well. But again, loose in midfield, it was an issue and an issue with the game all over. I've already said that Kamara was loose with the ball. I mean, if we have a look at the 68% passing accuracy for Leon Bailey, lost possession of the football 23 times. So 23 times Leon Bailey lost the football for Aston Villa. And it's just far too high. And it was a tale for every single midfield. It wasn't just Leon Bailey that was losing the ball. It was all of them. But to lose the ball 23 times, that's quite a lot. That is quite a lot of times. If we have a look at his ground duels won, he won 1 out of 10 ground duels, which again is really low, really, really low. So that was a problem. If we have a look at Coutinho, 77% passing accuracy. He won 1 of his 6 ground duels. So what I was saying at the start, where it didn't feel like an Emery performance, look at these stats. None of them are winning their individual battles. And that is a massive thing. If you can't win your individual battles, you're going to have problems. And it was a thing where it wasn't just one of them, it was all of them. And that was due to Leicester pressing Aston Villa really, really well. But we needed to move the ball quicker and be braver on the ball as well. Buendia, I thought Buendia had a really, really good game. But then if you have a look at some of these stats, again, some of it weren't great. Some of it weren't great at all. 92% passing accuracy, brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Used the ball really, really well. He hit the crossbar with his header. He was brilliant with his shot as well. But then if we have a look at the defensive side of things, another one, 2 out of his 11 ground duels were won. It's low, isn't it? It's low. It's showing what we're doing off the ball to retrieve the ball, which was the biggest problem for me. And if I'm looking at the tail of this game and what I'm taking away from it is, we weren't good without the ball. We weren't winning battles. We weren't winning duels. We weren't recovering the ball well enough. So those are the things that I felt like we did wrong, and it kind of goes back to what I was saying in the match reaction, that it didn't feel like an Emery Villa performance, and I think some of that is why. So, I want to have a look at where we're going wrong. I want to have a look at the defensive problems, because it's stuff that we can work on. I can't imagine we're going to play that ball into central midfield again and dwell on the ball. So I think it's highlighting what we should do better with the ball, how we should move the ball from playing out from the back. I think we heard Brendan Rodgers before the game saying it was a local derby, and we were all like, nah, it's not a derby, it's not a derby. But if you look at the aggression of Leicester, they sort of played it a bit like a derby, and we didn't. So I think it was a bit of a reality check. I think it was a bit of one where we looked like we could just sort of go through the motions a little bit instead of putting a real disciplined, solid performance. But then what we're going to have to do now is when we go back to now playing Manchester City and Arsenal, more of a disciplined, counter-attacking, restricting the opposition of space, time on the ball. I think that suits us a bit better. And I think what we're trying to do is, Emery keeps saying he wants to please the fans and please and have pleasing performances, but it's finding that balance between where we're at and what we are, and how far can we push these players. Because I read everybody's comments, and a lot of the comments are saying the centre backs, they've been here too long, they just simply aren't good enough, and vice versa, and other players are being mentioned as well. And I think I do agree with what some people say, that I think that some of these players have a ceiling of how far they can be pushed and how far we can play because of their ability. So, I do think we need to have a long look at how we approach things at home, because, I've said before, like, I kind of have said before that play crap and win, and you get 3 points. Whereas we're trying to do stuff differently at home. We're trying to play more expansive, and at the minute, I don't think we've got it in us to play like that every single time at home. Is what I'm trying to say. If you look at some of our last home performances, Wolves, Leeds, and Leicester, I don't think we've played well in any of them for 90 minutes. I think we've played well in bits and spurts, and so I do think we've got to just tone it down and try and not be so open, and give us more of a battling mindset, I think. Let me know what you think. This is just my opinion, basically, and I'm trying to figure out how we're gonna play at home and what we are gonna do at home, because there's two different teams at Villa: home team, away team. We've got to merge the two together. So it's about finding that bit of a middle ground, and because we are mid-table, I guess we can try and see how we do, and we can evolve. So that's just my vibe on where we're at home, what we're doing. So we've got two difficult games, but the two teams we've got coming up have lost this weekend. Arsenal weren't great at Everton. Everton done a job on them. Arsenal didn't really turn up. I watched Manchester City at Tottenham. Man City just looked like they're in a bit of a mess. It's weird saying they're in a bit of a mess, but the second in the league. But from their high standards and what Pep expects, it doesn't look right. It looks, he left De Bruyne out, and it just doesn't look a happy place. So we can pose them problems. So it's not about just saying, oh, we've got the two top teams, we're going to lose both games. Let's think about the first game first, and see how we do in that game. So so hopefully you've enjoyed this episode. Hopefully you've had a little bit of a look at what went wrong. These are just my views. So if you want to drop your views in the comment section down below, then far away. And cheers everyone for watching. Like the video, subscribe. Up the Villa.